Hey guys, welcome back. It's Missy. I am a life and relationship coach, and on this channel, we get to the root of the issue and we learn how to heal and deal. So if that's your thing, go ahead, go and subscribe down below. I would love for you to be a part of the fam. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Last week we did a video on red flags. This week I thought it would be a good idea to do a video on healthy relationships and what does a healthy relationship look like. Healthy relationships is something that a lot of people have a hard time kind of identifying because most of us did not see a healthy relationship in our upbringing. We didn't really see maybe healthy communication, what love actually means, what does it feel like to be in a loving relationship. We don't always see those things. So then we don't really know what to look out for in our relationships. That's why we can get kind of stuck in those unhealthy, toxic relationships. We can become addicted to those people that give us inconsistent reward. So it's important to educate ourselves on what does a healthy relationship look like, and we don't want to repeat the mistakes of our parents or our unhealthy relationships in the past. Something that I think is a problem in this day and age is that we focus too much on what other people are doing for us, like me. And here's the thing, a relationship is a two-way street. Obviously you're important and your needs are important. It's also equally as important when you're in a relationship that you are giving the same thing. So whatever you expect of your partner, you need to expect of yourself as well. If you notice that maybe you can't deliver those things, then maybe your expectations are too high and you're not thinking in a realistic type way in regards to your relationship. So you want to think in that way where what you're willing to offer, also expect that in your partner as well. So there needs to be reciprocation. Sometimes in relationships, it's going to be like 70-30, 30-70, because we're not always at our best. And it's okay for it to be like that for a little while, but when it's constantly like that, that's a problem. Like you need that reciprocation. You need you got them this time, but maybe next time they'll get you. For instance, if you notice yourself paying for things too often, you're the one who's always reaching out to them first, you're the one who's always making plans, you're the one who's kind of going out of your way for them, that's not a balanced relationship. There needs to be some sort of form where you feel like you are receiving the same energy you are giving, where they make you feel like you're a priority, where you matter. The thing with reciprocation is you don't want to turn it into, oh, I did this thing for this person, I'm going to keep a mental note and now they owe me the next time. Like, that's not what it is. You want to keep tabs on them. It's that in a healthy relationship, you genuinely want to do things for that person because you love and you care for them. So that's something that's really important in a healthy relationship. Another thing that's important in a healthy relationship is communication. Communicating is something that we all struggle with because we all have our different forms of communicating. If you grow up in an unhealthy home, you most likely will really struggle with communicating because you were told that your wants and needs didn't matter. You were taught that you had to stay quiet and you couldn't really speak up about things, which then taught you to suppress your feelings. So you may not even be really sure about your feelings. You will either internalize things, you'll keep it to yourself, you may isolate, you may react with anger, you may not be entirely sure of your feelings. So communication could be hard for you in that regard. So it may be a fear where you're not able to communicate. And also what happens in those types of environments is you suppress your feelings and you're not able to not only understand what's going on or how you're feeling, but you're not able to express those things. And that's okay. That just means that you need to be aware and recognize your own feelings and learn how to communicate what's going on. Understand that it's a safe place now where you don't have to hold on to those old unhealthy coping mechanisms and you are able to communicate with your partner now. So when it comes to a healthy relationship, you want to be able to talk to your partner about things in a manner of respect, empathy, and understanding. You want to feel like you feel comfortable and you found someone you can confide in. And you need to understand part of a healthy relationship is getting into arguments and having those uncomfortable conversations. So a lot of times We may try to avoid arguments. We may think arguments are bad and we need to avoid them, but arguments are an important part of a healthy relationship. Conflict resolution. It's important that you are able to identify issues, because when you are able to identify issues, that means that you're comfortable and you can be yourself and you can authentically speak about the things that are on your mind, because as humans, we all have different wants and needs. We're not all the same. And that's part of a relationship, is that you will have different ideas and you will need to communicate those things. So don't think of arguing as something that you need to avoid or you need to keep the peace, because that's not really keeping the peace. That's just suppressing it, and then eventually resentment will come out. So you want to be able to feel like you have found someone that you can confide in, that you feel comfortable having these types of uncomfortable discussions with, and you're able to come to some sort of solution in the end. You're able to figure out what is the solution to this issue. And you want to be able to feel comfortable with just sharing daily things that's going on in your life. You want to be able to communicate and have that emotional support. So communication is number one. You and your partner want to be able to feel like it's a place where you can just communicate everything that's on your mind, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it results in an argument. It doesn't matter. You need to be able to communicate those things and kind of fight those old habits you used to have. And the next thing, individuality. Individuality is really important in a healthy relationship, because you were your own person before the relationship. You should be your own person during the relationship, and you will be your own person if something happens after the relationship. It's important that you go into a relationship being a whole person and having your own interests, having your own friends, having your own ideas about things, because a lot of times in relationships we can kind of get kind of like stuck with that person as if they're our other half. And it's an unhealthy ideal to think of it as like your partner is your other half, because then what happens when they leave? What are you, a half of a person? Like, that's not healthy. You were a person before this person, so you need to each have your own things going on. Like, maybe they like bowling and you like playing football, things like that. Having things that you could do outside of the relationship, so you have that time to have to yourself and you don't wind up just kind of getting stuck with each other. And that's a lot of times when like those little petty stupid fights will happen, because you're just on top of each other and you may feel like you don't have enough space. You need you time to kind of gather yourself together and be able to self-reflect. So still, it's important that you have those healthy boundaries where they have their thing going on and you have your thing going on, and then you're able to come together. You need to have your own life with your own things going on. And honestly, it gives you things to talk about, keeps the relationship not stale. In a relationship, you still will have similar interests, but you also will have things that you want to be able to do on your own, which kind of goes into the next thing, healthy boundaries. In all types of relationships, it doesn't matter how close you are with someone, we all have boundaries. Boundaries are just basically fences we put up to protect ourselves from things that we don't want or unhealthy things. Establishing healthy boundaries makes you feel comfortable and safe in your relationship. In order to establish healthy boundaries, you need to be clear with your partner and let them know what you want, who you are, your beliefs, your values, and also your limits. We usually have mental, physical, and material boundaries. So it's important to understand your own boundaries. For instance, maybe you don't like PDA, that's a boundary of yours. It's important that your partner respects that boundary. Maybe you don't want them to touch your makeup. Maybe a boundary of your partner's is that you don't talk about your guys' sexual history in front of others. Those types of boundaries. You each need to kind of identify your boundaries and be able to speak about them and also respect them. Sometimes we grow up and we feel like our boundaries were invaded, or we didn't feel like we were allowed to have boundaries. So it's important as an adult for you to establish what types of things make you comfortable, what do you expect in others, and what are some things that you don't want to deal with? What are things that you will not tolerate? And it's important to instill those things in your relationships. The next thing, respect. Respect literally means just the way that people treat you. So it's important in your relationships, kind of like we said, respecting your boundaries, being respectful towards the things that you say, respecting your opinions, and valuing you as a person. Aside from all the serious stuff, something that's in a healthy relationship is you're able to have fun and laugh and joke and kind of have the same sense of humor. Fun is equally as important as, all of the serious stuff like communicating and being honest and all of those things. You want a relationship where you feel like you can let loose and you guys can have a laugh and you guys can do kind of silly, funny things, and whatever your types of sense of humor is. Everyone has their own cup of tea when it comes to sense of humor. Like maybe you have someone that you can banter with and when you can dish it and they can take it, and vice versa. You want someone that you can play around with and have fun with and kind of bring that little kid side of you, because as an adult you can still have fun. You don't want to be this boring business person who pays bills and you just have these serious conversations. You want to have some fun in your relationship. So it's really important that you feel like you can let loose and have a good time with them, do spontaneous things, still be able to get that feel like you're still that little kid. And if you are someone that wears makeup, you want to ruin your mascara from tears of laughter, not tears of sadness. The next thing, you want someone that's going to be supportive. Here's the thing, we're not always going to agree 100% with our partner's ideas or the things we're doing. And it's fine if you communicate that with them, but it's important to be supportive of that person and really kind of uplift them and make them feel like they can do the things that they really put their mind to. You want a partner that's going to uplift you rather than put you down or put a lot of self-doubt in you. You want to be able to have like a cheerleader. Not only is it important that you're your own cheerleader, but you want to feel like your partner is your cheerleader too, cheering you on, really excited for you, having that support. And not only in the good times, but you also want someone that's going to be supportive in the bad times, a shoulder to cry on, someone that's there when you're not doing so well, that's not going to just give up on you because you're going through a hard time. So it's really important that you have support in your relationships. And like I said, you have someone that you can confide in, that you feel comfortable with, and will be supportive in the good and the bad. You want that sense of comfort. We all need support in our life. So the biggest relationship you're in needs to be the most supportive. They don't always gotta like what you're doing, but they at least gotta be supportive. And the next thing, trust. You want to feel like you're in a relationship where it's a safe place, where you can be your authentic self, where you don't feel like this person is going to go and tell everyone else, where you don't feel like this person will put you in any sort of danger. Like you need that trust in that relationship where you feel like, okay, this person's got me, they got my back. Trust is one of the most important ones because that's where you build that solid foundation where you can build that emotional stability. And without it, it leads to hurt, vulnerability, and stress. You will be unsure if you can count on your partner. You will feel unsafe. So you want to be able to create a foundation where you can build upon that trust and you feel like your partner has your back and you feel like you have an equal. And the next thing, honesty, openness, and also empathy as well. So in your relationships, you want to feel like you both can be honest. You both can be upfront, you can be open, you can share things, because you don't want to feel like you're in a relationship where you're closed off and it's not a safe place where you can share things, because that does eventually lead to cheating and going outside of the relationship and resentment as well. So you want to be able to feel like it's an open place where you can express things. And not only that, but you want to do it in an empathetic type of way. Empathy is really important in a relationship because you want to be able to put yourself in that person's shoes and think about, how would I want to be treated? How would I want this person to tell me this certain thing? Sometimes in relationships we feel like, oh, we can't say that, that will get me in trouble. But it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And the empathy will help you to be able to clarify how you do speak on things. So you want to feel like in your relationship you can be open, you can be honest, but you also are able to be empathetic where you're able to relate to that person. You want to be able to put yourself in your partner's shoes and think, okay, how would this make me feel? When you do that and you think outside of your perspective, it helps you to be able to relate to your partner, and it helps you to be able to communicate in a different way because you're thinking about their perspective rather than just your own. So open and honesty and also empathy are really important in a healthy relationship. The next thing, affection, intimacy, and interest. We all want to feel wanted, and we all feel wanted in different ways. That's why it's good to kind of understand your love language. So the 5 love languages are acts of service, which means like you like when people do things for you, like take out the trash without asking. Physical touch, where like they're like hugs and kisses and just touching, holding hands. Words of affirmation, where basically they tell you like how great you are, the positive things about you, they thank you, they tell you how much they love you. Gifts, where basically maybe they buy you things. And quality time, so basically they will just take time aside to spend with you. So it's important to understand your love language so that way you're able to communicate with your partner. But here's the thing, your partner may not have the same love language, and we give people things that we wish other people would give us. So you may be kind of speaking your love language, but that doesn't pertain to them, and vice versa. They may be giving your love language and it doesn't speak to you. So you guys need to be aware of your love languages and then give to each other what it is that makes you feel loved. And it's important that you make each other feel like you're a priority, that you're interested in that person, and you're affectionate, not just in a physical way, but also maybe in the way that you speak. And just making your partner feel wanted and like they're, you have eyes on them. And then the other part of that is intimacy. What is your sex life like? Intimacy is partially, that emotional connection, kind of like cuddling together and things like that. But it's also the sexual part where everyone has different sex drives and everyone has different ideas of how sex should go. So it's important that you guys kind of have conversations about that and you guys have a healthy sex life. There's going to be times when one or the other isn't in the mood, and that's okay. But you guys need to kind of communicate and get on the same page when it comes to sex and being able to connect in that way, because sex is a very important part of a relationship. We need that because it releases those chemicals, that oxytocin, and it keeps us connected. So you guys need to get on the same page about what is a healthy sex life to each other. And the next thing, growth. Growth, in my opinion, is one of the most important ones. I always think everything's important, but it's really important because you can't be with someone that's not willing to grow. Here's the thing. You're not trying to be with someone because you want them to change. Like, you need to accept them for who they are. But you also want to be in a relationship where you feel like you guys can talk about things and you can grow and you can change together. Because most of the time relationships don't work is because they grow separately. We're always changing. We as humans, we're always constantly changing. So you want to be with someone that wants to grow with you rather than grow separately. Or even grow the opposite, go backwards. Because when you're with someone that's willing to grow, you can do a lot with them. Like, you're able to communicate, they're able to self-reflect, they're willing to respect you and care about you and nurture to your needs. And also you want to do the same thing in return. So it's really important that you have someone that's really interested in growth and growing together. Your goals, your interests, your wants and needs, those are things that are always going to change. Not only that, but you also want someone that's going to be patient with you. Patience is really important because we as humans, we need to understand we can't just have things immediately. It can't just happen right off the bat. I know we're in a time right now where things kind of are like very fast paced, like we don't like to wait, but we need to have patience because, like, for instance, let's say you're not ready to take a certain step in your relationship and they're being impatient, that's gonna cause you stress and fear. It's gonna cause you to do things that you're not ready for. And also, like, we all have our own wounds and we need someone that's going to be patient and work with us rather than kind of just be like, okay, you're not working for me, on to the next one. We can't always do that. We need to be patient with one another. Things take time. And the last thing, compromise. having that flexibility. We need to be able in a relationship to give and take. Now, when it comes to compromising, there's certain things you don't compromise. You don't compromise your boundaries. You don't compromise your respect or your values or your morals. Those are things that you don't need to compromise. But there's other things that you may need to compromise, kind of picking and choosing your battles. Because like I said, kind of with an arguing, like each person, they have their different ideas, and everybody always wants to just get what they want. Who doesn't like getting what they want? But the thing is, you can't always get what you want. Like two people, they cannot always get what they want, especially when they're in a relationship. So when it comes to compromising, you guys kind of need to kind of pick your battles, and maybe this time you'll be willing to compromise and kind of allowing that person to have something they want. Maybe the next time the same thing, they kind of will compromise something they want for you to have what you want. Things that you may need to compromise are kind of like with spending time together, maybe little things like movies, spending time with friends, individual time, communication when you're talking on the phone, things like that. You need to kind of learn what are things that you can compromise, and being able to determine what are things that you're just like, okay, no, I'm not going to compromise this because I've compromised too much, and what are things that you feel like you're willing to kind of just let go of that situation and just allow them to kind of take this one, allow them to have this one. So these are some things that equal a healthy relationship. These are some qualities that you want to have and also receive in return. What do you guys think? Leave it all in the comments below. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share with someone that you think may need it. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye guys. Video on healthy. So last week we did a video on red flags, and this week I thought it would. Last week we did. I can never get it together. This is why I have always so many cuts in my videos, because I literally stumble over my words. Okay, girl, you do your thing. I really hope it's recording. Stay on my finger, girl. Just girly things. There's 5 love languages: physical touch, gifts, acts of service, words of affirmation, and gift. Acts of service, gifts, words of affirmation, and physical touch.